Hi guys, my name is Becca and welcome back to my channel. I am here to film my June wrap-up today. Okay, so of course before we get into the books, let's talk about everything else that I did this month. So for video games, I played a little bit of Darksiders 2, that was literally it. I don't know how this is gonna go at the end of the year, where again, I had 5 video games that I want to play, and I haven't completed any of them. I think I've only completed, one game this year? Oh well. What can you do? I'm hoping to at least... I brought it down to 3 that I was like, look, if I completed these 3 games, I would be happy, and that's what I did in my mid-year progress report, and again, I'm trying, but I'm just not in the mood to play, so I'm not going to force myself. For anime, I caught up with Kakuryou. Again, I haven't watched a single... Well, I've started to watch Sailor Moon. I watched the first 2 seasons, but the 3rd season I haven't finished yet. I wanted to take my time because I know I won't be getting the 4th season for quite some time. So, but I do have to finish that and then I'd be caught up, and I can say at least I watched the 1 anime that was on my list to watch. I do have the other 4, and I don't know. I don't know what's gonna I keep meaning to watch it, and then it doesn't happen. So, but I'm loving Kakuryou, and so I caught up with that, and I'm really loving that anime, and I will just continue to watch that weekly. But hopefully I will watch some more. Hopefully. We'll see. For movies, I saw 2 in theaters. I saw Incredibles 2, which I thought was really, really well done. I loved it. I've waited 14 years to see that movie. It was so good. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. I have to say, oh my god, I want to say I prefer the first one to the second, but yeah, I'm gonna say I prefer the first one to this one, but I still really, really enjoyed the second one. I love Baby Jack Jack in this. Oh my god, it's so good. I will say that the villain was very predictable. Like, really, really predictable. And I remember talking to people I know that have seen it as well, and I was like, so did you predict the villain too? Because was it just me, or was it like everybody could predict that villain? It was so predictable. But I think that's how they wanted it to be, because they weren't trying to hide it very well. But I still really enjoyed it overall, and I'm really glad I went and saw it. So, yeah. The other one I saw was another sequel, and that was Jurassic World 2 at the very end of the month. I love that movie. I love the first one so much, and I ended up rewatching the first one with my friend. We watched it the night before, and then we went and saw the second one the next day. And, oh man, I loved it. I love Blue. Blue is my favorite. Blue and Owen. I love them so much. Chris Pratt is just amazing. I love his acting, and I love him, and I usually watch anything he's in, pretty much, except I've never seen Parks and Rec, but I love Chris Pratt, and I love this movie. Though I was very surprised, because I've only seen like 1, maybe possibly 2 trailers, but I was under the assumption, again, I haven't watched all the trailers. I don't think I watched all of them, because I try not to watch all the trailers when they're out. I try to watch like just one to, get a feel for the movie, and then, okay, I'm gonna wait for the movie, because I don't want to be I don't want all of everything coming at me. I want to be able to witness it for myself. So I was under the assumption that the whole movie was going to be about getting the dinosaurs off the island before the volcano, explodes. It's not. I mean, that's like the first quarter of the movie. The rest of it is when the dinosaurs are off the movie, they're being sold, and they have to go and rescue the dinosaurs from that. And I was just like, wow, I didn't see that coming at all. I didn't know that was gonna happen. Okay. It was really, really good. I loved it. There There were some twists that I was like, okay. Baby Blue was the best. I loved seeing Baby Blue so much. Oh my god. I love this movie. One of the best movies I've seen this year. It was so good. And then lastly, TV shows. I binge watched one show. Sorry, I think I'm losing my voice. Alright, so I binge watched one show, and that was 13 Reasons Why. I watched season 1 and 2. I loved season 1. I thought it was so reminiscent of the book that I don't remember much of the book. I read it in high school, so it was almost 10 years ago. So I don't remember. Actually, it was over 10 years ago because I probably read it sophomore year. Yeah. So it was over 10 years ago. Or it was 10 years ago, okay? And I love the book. I remember really loving that book. I remember crying so hard and loving that book. And I was obsessed with it for months. And I remember that obsession. And I really loved this. I loved the first season. I thought the first season was so well done of the book. And then you get to the second season. And, okay, yeah, there was no need for a second season, to be honest. I mean, the book was the material for the first season. That was it. So the second season was completely, free of the book. You could just go off and do anything you wanted with it. So, the second season focused on the court case between Hannah's parents and the school. So, each episode was a testimony, like a kid's testimony, or someone's testimony in the case, other than, of course, in the first season, it being a tape that Clay was listening to. I found myself really loving characters that I hated in the first season and hating characters that I loved. So I hated Clay so much. I hated him so much in season 2. Oh my god. I understood that he had a problem and he was hallucinating and seeing Hannah. But, okay, there were moments, alright, that I noticed that he was talking to Hannah in public and sometimes he was yelling. And I'm sorry, but when you're in public and you're around people and you're yelling at someone who's not there, nobody decides to, see if you're okay. Maybe call somebody or just look at you for a while. I mean, he would literally be like, oh, and then look back and nobody would be staring at him. Nobody would be like, oh crap, They'd all be just normal. And I'm like, no one finds this weird? No one finds this... okay. And that wasn't the reason I didn't like Clay. That Clay has just started doing stuff that pissed me off. But I did find myself just skipping all of his scenes. Like, I literally see it would be Clay and I just started fast forwarding. I just did not want to watch him. There were moments I could, but normally if it was like him and Hannah, no thanks, I don't care. And then Tyler's scenes, I've never liked Tyler since season 1, so it was fine. But I found myself really bored, and I just didn't want to watch his scenes either. I love Tony still. I found myself loving Justin and Zach, which I hated them in the first season, but I was like, okay. I really love Zach. And Justin. And Jessica and Alex. I mean, I found myself loving my certain group. And, well... Clay kept trying to come in, and I would be like, get away. I just didn't like Clay. And in the ending of season 2, I hated it. I thought that was, I just like, really? Really? I really did not like season 2. I'm still going to watch season 3 when it comes out, but I wasn't the biggest fan of season 2. I love season 1 though. Season 1 was great. So, yeah. Okay, so that's all for that. Now we can finally go on to the books, which I know that's why you guys are here. Oh wow, everything just fell over. Alright, so this month I read a total of 11 books, which was really good. I didn't think I did, actually. It was really funny. I could have sworn I only read, like, a few books. I didn't think I read 11, but I'm good. I did do a mid-month wrap-up for the month of June, and I talked about these books, so if you want to know more about these, or what I felt about them, what I rated them, go and check out my mid-month wrap-up. I'll link it down below. So, for the rest of the month, I read a total of, 7 books? Math, yes, 7 books. Math. So yeah. The first book I'm going to talk about is the one that was on my, 12 to read in 2018, and that is My Not So Perfect Life by Sophie Kinsella. I've been trying to read this ever since it came out. I think, last year? Did it come out last year? I believe so. Yeah, last year. Which I want to say came out, like, in the beginning of last year, so it's taken me a little over a year to try and read this. And I remember when I tried to read it the first time, I wasn't really enjoying I really wasn't enjoying it. And I pretty much got to the same place. I think it was like 30 pages in, and I reread it, and I was like, yeah, I'm still not enjoying this. But I continued on. I got through it. I found, it's about our main character. What's her name? Katie. She's always wanted to live in London, and she finally goes to London and lives there and finds a job, and she's got this crappy apartment and this crappy job with this shitty boss. Oh my god. But Katie loves to obsess over her boss. She believes Demeter, her boss, has the perfect life, the perfect house, the perfect family, the perfect job. She just has perfect everything. And Katie wants to be her, pretty much. So Katie just, she gets this job, and, oh my god, she's at lower level, so she's not, she doesn't really do much. She has all these ideas, but she can't really, bring them to her boss because, her boss, won't exactly listen. Okay, I'm not gonna talk about that anymore. But what I really didn't like about Katie in this job is that she continues to, like, lie to everybody. Like, she pretends that she has, like, this great, life, and she's got all this money, or, she can do whatever. I swear there was this one moment where Demeter's like, so, over Christmas break, you're gonna have a goose or whatever, and she just goes into this extravagant meal that she's going to have, and Demeter's like, okay, cool. And of course, that's not the truth. And when she gets back from, over Christmas break or whatever, they're like, so, how was the meal? And I'm just like, why did you have to lie? Like, really, what's the frickin' point? It's just annoying. Obviously that's only like the first quarter, and then Katie gets fired, and she has to go home. And she ends up working for her family. They just started running this new glamping thing outside their home. And Katie starts, helping them out. They don't know she was fired. They think she's on sabbatical. There's another lie. That's annoying. Let's see. Demeter ends up taking her family to this glamping thing. And of course, Katie is like, well, I'm gonna screw with her. There were moments I enjoyed. The romance was pretty good, though I was just like, I thought the romance was okay. Katie finds out Demeter isn't as bad as she thinks she is. She doesn't have the perfect life. It's called My Not So Perfect Life but it also means for like everybody there. It was a poor summary. You could find a better summary on Goodreads or something. I didn't personally like this. I know Heather from Bookables really enjoyed this. I just didn't enjoy the main character or anything that she did, really. So I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. It wasn't awful. It was okay. It was a little bit better than okay. But I just really didn't like the main character. So I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. And then I read An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. This is a brutal Roman-inspired fantasy. There's 2 races, the Scholars and the Empire. And the Scholars were conquered by the Empire long ago. Let's see. Of course, Leia, who is one of our main characters, she's a scholar. And scholars are afraid that the Empire is going to be not coming to their door and for any reason. Like they were conquered and now they're like slaves, kind of. At least, yeah. One night, the Empire does come to her door and takes her brother away and throws him in jail. And Leia must go to the rebels and ask them for help in rescuing him. They say they'll do it, but only if Leia goes undercover and infiltrates the academy. I don't remember what it's called, but it's the military academy of the Empire, where the soldiers are being, bred and everything. So she has to go undercover there and spy and report back to the rebels, and once she brings sufficient information, they promise they'll go and rescue her brother. The other, there is a dual perspective, so there is another main character, and that is Elias. So Elias, or Leia, however you say your name, Leia, I want to call you Leia, and Elias. So Elias is one of the soldiers in this academy. He's just about to graduate, and he's one of the greatest soldiers they have. Though they don't know that he hates it. He hates being there, and he wants to desert, and he has a plan to desert. Though, like on the eve of his just as he's about to desert, beings come to him and tell him that, he might want to wait, or he might not want to desert. He can desert if he so chooses, or he can stay and take part in this, trial, in these trials to become emperor. Yeah. He can become the emperor. Or the new emperor. So Leia and Elias, their fates intertwine, and I suck at telling synopsis. You guys know this. I really liked this. I did. I really enjoyed this book. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed the romance that you get between Leia and Elias. Even though it's not much, you still get some, and I really enjoyed it. It's very brutal, so know that going into this series. But again, I'm really happy that I read this, and again, I give 4 out of 5 stars. Next up, I have Listen to Your Heart by Casey West. This is Casey West's newest book, which, funnily enough, I knew it was coming, but it kept escaping my mind, so I kept forgetting about it. And when I saw that it was, when I saw it one day, I was just like, oh, Casey West, and I picked it up. And pretty much just read it, like, right when I got it. I love this book. This is about our main character who joins a podcasting class. Her name is also Kate. So she joins a podcasting class at school with her friend. She doesn't really want to be in this class, but her friend really wants her to be in it with her. So Kate ends up being forced to be in this class. And Kate doesn't know anything about podcasts. She doesn't listen to them. She's not a part of them. She doesn't care about them. But she ends up joining, being in this class anyway. And there's only 2 people in the class who can be the hosts for this podcast. And then everybody else will have their own roles or whatever. And Kate, is like, well, I'm not going to be the host. No, I don't want to be. Kate is much, an introvert, I believe. She just doesn't want to be in the spotlight or anything. And so she really doesn't want to be a host at all. Of course, she becomes a host. Much to her dismay. And she finds that she's actually enjoying it. A little. Like, not a whole lot. But she finds that she's actually pretty good at it, and she starts to enjoy it. There is, their topic for their podcast is what's it called? Is advice. And, they must give advice to, the students and the callers. And there is this one guy who calls asking about love advice, and it's really cool. It's really cute. Her best friend, though, the one that she joined the class with, it has a crush on this one guy. And Kate will do anything she can to help her friend get with this guy. Make her crush be known. And, though, of course, when that's happening, Kate's also kind of falling for him as well. Which is not good. But I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed the romance. I gave this 5 stars. I love Casey West, and this is one of my favorite Casey West books. Again, I really enjoyed the romance, and I thought it was pretty funny at times, and also made me cry at times. This one has a really good family dynamic, and I really enjoyed it. 5 out of 5 stars. And next up, I read Daughter of the Pirate Queen and Daughter of the Siren King, Daughter of the Pirate King and Daughter of the Siren Queen, both by Tricia Levenseller. These are books 1 and 2 in the duology. I think it's just the Daughter of the Pirate King duology. And I listened to them both on audiobook. This was a reread, and this was a book I really wanted to get to. I really wanted to finish up the series, and I remember really loving this, so I reread this and went into this. Listening to them both on audiobook, though, was a really good choice. I really, really love the audiobooks for both of these. I don't really want to go into I don't want to go into detail about this one because it is, again, a sequel and a conclusion into the series. So this one is just about our main character, who's a pirate, Alosa, and she's the daughter of the Pirate Queen, or the Pirate King. I keep doing that. And she, one day, her ship is taken over by enemy pirates, and she's kidnapped and taken onto their ship. And they want to keep her hostage and use her for leverage against her father and get what they want. Though, unknown to them, she wanted to be taken hostage and brought to their ship so she can steal from them. So, it's really good. I really love Alosa, and I love both of the books in the series. I will say I enjoyed this one more than this, but I still really enjoyed both of these books. The romance is really good. The Alosa alone, I love Alosa so much. She's a kick-ass female main character, and I really, really enjoyed the series. I gave this 4.5 out of 5 stars, and this 4 out of 5 stars. So, I highly suggest or recommend the series if you haven't read it already. It's really good, and I enjoyed it. Alright, last 2 books. By the way, before I forget, I have quite a few books on or that I read this month that are on my favorites of the year. Like, literally, I have a top 5 right now, and 3 of them are ones that I read this month. One of them being that I showed in my mid-month wrap-up, and 2 that I'm going to show you now. Next up is The Hate U Give by Angie Thomas. Oh my god. I love this book so much. I also listened to this on audiobook, and I recommend listening to this on audiobook if you can. It's on Scribd, so I mean you can just download Scribd, get the 30-day free trial, and just listen to The Hate U Give. It's fantastic. It is $8.99 a month, but again, there is a 30-day free trial, and you could just have that and just listen to this. It's so fantastic. I started listening to the audiobook right away. And then I figured I would listen to the audiobook back and forth from work, and then I would just read this when I was home. No, I literally had this with me everywhere. I was listening to the audiobook back and forth from work, but also on breaks I would have my book out and I would just have my earphones in, or my earbuds in, and then even at home I would be listening to the audiobook while reading this. I love this so much. This is just about a main character named Star, who witnesses her friend being shot and killed by a police officer. This is inspired by Black Lives Matter. I really can't go into more detail other than the fact that it, again, has a really great family dynamic. I love the family. I really love when they include families in these stories, and YA hasn't done that for so long. Like, there was a long time where families were just non-existent, and I know you've probably heard this from other booktubers, but it's true. I mean, families were just non-existent in stories, and if you would see one, it would just be like, it's interesting, like, oh my god, there's a family. And now they're starting to incorporate more and more families, which I really love. And I just, oh my god, this book made me sob. This book made me think. It made me feel. I mean, it just made me do all of the things. I just loved this book. I love listening to this book. I thought the narrator for the audiobook did such a fantastic job. Literally, I tried coming up with a voice for these characters for like a minute, and I was like, no, the voices that I have for these characters have to be from the narrator, because those voices were just fantastic. I gave this 5 out of 5 fucking stars. If you have not yet read this book, I highly suggest reading this book. This was freaking fantastic. And again, it's on my top 5 favorites of the year. And then the last one that's also on that list is Furyborn by Claire Legrand. Oh man. So this is about 2 queens. One is a Sun Queen, one is a Blood Queen. And it's pretty much like one will save the world and one will end it or something. You don't know which is which. So you have our 2 main characters, both 1,000 years apart. It's a dual perspective, of course. So you have our 2 main characters 1,000 years apart. You have Riel, who is 1,000 years ago. She is witnessing her friend being attacked. And, about this, the magic system in this book, it's pretty much everyone can wield an element of magic, but they need a casting for it. Don't ask me what that is. That's just what I've read. But they need a casting. And Riel, while witnessing her friend being attacked, uses her power, and she finds that she can wield all of the elements as well without a casting, which is a huge deal. So she finds that she's able to wield all these elements without a casting, and they find out about it. So she must go through these trials to prove to them that she can do this and that she is a Sun Queen, or that she is a queen, though they believe she's a Sun Queen. So now 1,000 years later, we have Eliana, who is an assassin pretty much for the Empire, another empire. Eliana works for the Empire, and she goes and she hunts down the rebels, and she either kills them or she brings them in, whatever the Empire wants. And one day, her mother is taken by something unknown. She has no idea. And she must join, or must team up with the rebels to save her mother. And, oh man, it's so fantastic. I found myself loving both of the main characters. That is so unheard of. Like, let's see. With An Ember in the Ashes, you had the two main characters. You had the two perspectives. I found myself wanting more Elias than Leia. With this, I found myself just wanting more. It didn't matter who it was. I would be reading Riel and really loving Riel. Oh, by the way, I call her Riel. I think a lot of other people call her Rael. I like Riel for some reason. Sorry, if you can't tell, I'm kind of sick, so this is what happens when I wake up in the morning and so I thought I would be reading a Riel chapter and like really invested in it, and then it would end and it would just give you that like little something that would make you want to get to the next chapter like so bad, and then of course you go to the next chapter and it's an Eliana chapter and you're like, no, I need more Riel. And then I would be reading the Eliana, like, okay, like, I gotta get to Riel. And then I'd be, like, really invested in that Eliana chapter, like, oh my god. And then that, of course, would end and give you a little bit of something for them. And you're like, oh my god. And then, like, okay, Riel. Like, okay. So I just found myself really loving both of these main characters and wanting more from both of them. Oh my god. I loved Eliana and I loved Riel. They're both pretty much kick-ass female main characters, though Eliana is an assassin and Riel is Riel is able to use her powers and everything. Riel lives in a world, you know, 1,000 years ago, and that time magic was abundant, everybody had magic and everyone was able to wield it pretty much. 1,000 years later, though, with Eliana, nobody wields magic anymore. They believe, like, that's all, like, a myth and everything. So, it's just, I loved both of the main characters. I loved the worlds for both of them. Even though it's the same world, it's just so vastly different because one has magic everywhere and then one has nothing. And it's so amazing. I love this book. I give it 5 out of 5 freaking stars. Highly suggest picking this up if you haven't. It's so fantastic. So, yeah, that's all of the books that I read. I was so hoping that this wouldn't be a long video, but it was anyway. Alright, thank you so much, guys, for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Happy reading.